Hi everyone. I want to walk you through a simulation I just made. It's a simulation of the Uniswap protocol, which is an automated, decentralized liquidity providing system on the Ethereum blockchain. I'll walk you through it, show the results of some of the plots, and kind of talk about some of the interesting things you can do with it. I've been meaning to make a simulation of a crypto economic system for a while. I think that this environment is a really good one for multi-agent simulations. You have a lot of actors who can take different actions in a complex system that, because of feedback loops and other reasons, can cause unexpected outcomes. And when you're putting real money into something, especially a smart contract that you can't directly control, you want to understand what those unexpected outcomes might be. So you can visit the hash index and search for Uniswap, and you will find the listing of the simulation that I just released. And then you can open it up. I'm going to do it at main, which is the head, the tip, the most recent version of the simulation. And it'll bring you into the HashCore IDE. I wrote in a README, because I'm a nice guy who actually documents things. I don't always, but I did in this case. A little description of the simulation, what's happening. So there are 4 different agents in the simulation. There's 2 automated market makers who are running the Uniswap protocol. There's an arbitrage agent that is comparing these different market maker prices, you can think of them as exchanges. They're places where you can buy and sell tokens. You have an arbitrage agent that is comparing the two, seeing if there are any price differences, and if there are, it's going to try to arbitrage between them. And then there's a liquidity providing agent, one that's going to deposit tokens into a market maker, and then at some point in the future, some time steps in the future, it'll withdraw them, and it will hopefully have made some money from the fees that have been collected by it as well. Just to show where those agents are getting initialized in init.json, you can see the 4 agents. So they're going to be created right at the start of the simulation. Each one has a behavior associated with it, several even. So the automated market makers have some initialization behaviors, so that's taking some global parameters, assigning it to the agent. It's running 2 other behaviors. The first one is it's checking its messages and seeing if it has a message to deposit liquidity into the market maker. So that's like an investment thing that the liquidity providing agent might do. If it does, it updates its reserves. If it receives a request to burn some shares, that means that the liquidity providing agent wants to withdraw money from the market maker. It'll do that. It'll return the initial funds along with any profit made. Here's the second market maker, has basically the same parameters as the first one, with a notable exception that the second market maker has slightly more tokens in it, which is going to cause there to be a different price between the two. The ratio of token B to token A is different in the second market maker than it is in the first. So the price will be different. And that creates an incentive for the arbitrage agent to come in and buy from one exchange and sell on the other until the price reaches an equilibrium. And then finally, here's the liquidity providing agent, which is our investor, which is going to deposit some number of tokens into the first market maker and then retrieve them later on. Now, as I described in the README, all of this can be changed and set in the global parameters. Well, not all of it, but some of the parameters. So I'm going to move over to globals.json where these global parameters are set. So these 2 determine when the liquidity providing agent is going to invest and withdraw. So that's at time step 1. So in the very first time step, the agent will send an investment message to the market maker. You don't really need to worry about the 3D viewer in this simulation. In a lot of simulations, it's helpful. This one, not so much. They're not really moving around. This is just to represent the agents. So this agent, liquidity providing agent, is going to invest in the first AMM, which is the Uniswap exchange. And then The other parameters are AMM fees, so this determines from each transaction how much is taken out as a fee that is then added into the AMM agent's reserves. And then here are the initial amounts for both agents, which reflect the amount that I've set in init.json as well. If you wanted to do different ones, you could customize it here, and then in the initialize AMM behavior, those will be properly set. This is just, the only reason I set them here is to make it a little bit more convenient on the plot as well, so that you don't see sudden jumps. All right, let's run this. Switch over to the plots view, and I'm gonna step through the simulation and talk about what's happening. So there are a lot of graphs actually showing what's happening. Let's just start from the top. This is the inventory of AMM1 and AMM2. Did I actually define what an AMM is? It's an automated market maker. Uniswap is one automated market making protocol. So this shows the token reserves for each AMM in token A and token B. Again, maybe I should have said this a little bit earlier, but we've got this pair of tokens where we set some kind of ratio between them. So token A, you have like 100, token B, you have 200, and we've set this 2-to-1 ratio so that 1 of token A can buy you 2 of token B. And the reserves in the AMM are how that swap happens. And as I describe in the README and then also in the accompanying blog post, the Uniswap protocol uses a constant product formula to make sure that the price is always adjusted in line with the number of tokens in reserve. So if it has fewer token A than token B, and if another trade pushes that even further, if like somebody is withdrawing token A in exchange for token B, the price of token A is going to go up. That way you always have the reserves never fully disappear. You never sell out of one of the tokens. The price just goes up. So here's our initial inventory for the two. You'll see a jump here because the liquidity providing agent has invested at that step. So this is the inventory of the liquidity provider. It deposited 20 of token B and 10 of token A. Remember, keeping that ratio set. Here's the inventory of the arbitrage agent. So it's buying and selling tokens, and so you're going to notice it's going to go through a little bit of a sine pattern, a little some waves as it buys and sells and receives some profit. And then here's a look at the prices on each exchange. So token A and token B for AMMs 1 and 2. So going a little bit further, just going to click through. Notice that huge jump here. That's because the liquidity providing agent withdrew its tokens from the AMM. It got it back, plus a little bit of fees. Big jump here. And interestingly, I didn't really expect this when I was doing the simulation. It created a bit of a rug pull effect. That's a term you might want to Google. It was inadvertent, but it caused a sudden change in prices as liquidity decreased from the AMM. And we see that here, jump up, and then also a significant decrease in the token B price. Now if we continue, notice that we've reached equilibrium. The prices are basically the same on both exchange. The reason they're not perfectly the same is, one, there are some fees, and two, for convenience, I set it such that an agent would only ever buy one token at a time, as opposed to fractions of the token. Yeah, and you can experiment. We can change different parameters here. You can add more agents in. I think there's a lot of interesting things to do in this space. This is actually a pretty simple representation of the protocol. Adding in additional exchanges, ones that have more of a like Brownian motion representation, or doing any number of things to kind of observe what happens to the Uniswap prices and the behaviors of the agents as different conditions occur and different exogenous shocks. All that seems extremely interesting, and for me, for next step, I'm going to continue to develop this and expand the number of agents and like representations of different agents in the simulation. In particular, I want to add a centralized exchange and show how that affects the arbitrage prices and the behavior of the agents. So yeah, that's a little bit of a demo into this simulation. Would love your thoughts. I'm not an expert in this area, and it's pretty complex. So opinions, criticisms, suggestions, all of that are quite welcome. Thanks for listening.